Chapter 45 The Beyu Trade Organization. There are 3 ways to reach the planet Beyu 4 from the Shroudwalker Enclave. One can travel there by a conventional starship, jumping through hyperspace and traveling on sublight drives. There is also a gateway structure in the Beyu star system. The final way to reach the planet is a secret, so none of the locals were able to see the moment when Trig, Hannakon, and a few companions stepped through the conduit and onto the surface of Beyu 4. Hannakon and his 2 retainers moved away from the conduit gate and stood casually in the courtyard as though nothing unusual had happened. Meanwhile, Hannakon, Trig, and Tactical Officer Rulon stumbled and nearly fell over as they emerged from the conduit. Trig coughed and squinted his eyes, looking around at the cityscape. My organization constructed our building in such a way that it completely surrounds the conduit, Hannakon explained. No worries. My office is close by, and we can get you some drugs. Drugs? Trig repeated as he stepped away from the stone arch. Why drugs? The local gravity is 0.81 Gs at sea level, Rulon replied. Air pressure is higher than on Cytheria. There's more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere as well. Also, this planet is much closer to its sun than Cytheria or Edelton. Sorry, kid, but you're about to be hit with one of the worst cases of environmental sickness in your life. We'll talk when you sober up. Trig wanted to ask another question, and he took a step forward to get closer to Hannakon, but as soon as Trig was clear of the conduit archway, his body was completely overwhelmed by Beyu 4's natural environment. A sharp pain rocked Trig's bones, and the ground rose up to meet him. Trig woke up some unknowable time later, and was immediately aware of an IV drip in his arm. He could hear a voice talking nearby. Blood oxygen boosters and muscle fatigue inhibitor. He'll need to take these pills twice a day. This compound here will enhance muscle bone density. Drink a dose during the first meal of the day, once per day. Tell him to refrain from strenuous activities and do only light exercise for the next 10 days. He'll be right as rain in a week. A Cytherian doctor left the room, leaving Trig alone with Tactical Officer Rulon. Looking around, Trig noticed that he was lying on a couch in what appeared to be a very spacious and well-decorated office. A nearby writing desk looked out over a dirty-looking city. "Where are we?" Trig asked as he sat up. "Planet-side liaison office of Praces Station," Rulon replied, "just down the street from the headquarters of the Beyu Trade Organization. Hannakon's organization uses this building as a front." "Looks like a legit business to me," Trig said, moving slowly as he tried to figure out Beyu 4's gravity. "But Pentwa showed me a few crime movies a few years back. There's more going on here than meets the eyes." "Oh, goodness, you sounded like a movie character when you said that," Rulon said with a chuckle. "All right, young man, pop your first dose of medicine and let's go to see Hannakon." Hannakon's organization owned a skyscraper, but the meeting would not take place here. Instead, Trig and Rulon would have to travel about half a kilometer to the interstellar headquarters of the Beyu Trade Organization. This was going to be a difficult journey. One of Hannakon's loyal followers was waiting in the lobby to hand over some valuable equipment. Trig and Rulon were given special sunglasses to wear, as the Beyu star was very bright in the sky, and neither Cytherian was ready for it. Trig was given a special pair of boots to wear, which would support and assist him as he tried to walk in the planet's strong gravity. Finally, both Cytherians were given a tiny bottle of emergency oxygen and breathing masks, since they were not sufficiently prepared for the heightened levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Trig and Rulon took almost 30 minutes to walk 500 meters, even though it was the middle of the day and only a minimal number of pedestrians shared the sidewalk with them. Upon arriving at BTO headquarters, Hannakon offered them both a tall glass of water. I used to be a creature of blood and bone. I understand what you're going through, Hannakon said. When you're ready, Hannakon is waiting for us. The corridors at BTO HQ were works of art, unlike anything Trig had ever seen before. It was a near-perfect recreation of the interior of MSI HQ, which Trig had seen on television before. Ornate marble halls with velvet carpets and elaborate tapestries hung on the walls. Each woven artwork contained a depiction of moments from Beyu's history, starting at the crash of an MSI asset transport, proceeding through the ill-fated revolt against Olenbar control, depicting the Nagyari Wars, and even given mention to the Sutherian War of Independence. Hannakon led Trig and Rulan into a grand meeting hall, where several long tables were arranged into a square, with all attendees facing each other. The Beyu Executive Board was made up of primarily Olenbar and Nagyari men, but there were a few Sutherians here. Hannakon broke off his conversation with one executive to speak with the Cascade crew members. "We're off to a good start," he said. "I am more comfortable operating from the shadows with cloak and dagger, but my connections with the Beyu Executive Board exist specifically for troubling times like these. The board has just given permission for your starship, Resonance Cascade, to enter the system. My people will receive them at Precis Station." "Okay, why do you need us here?" Trig asked. "To create a layer of legitimacy. And an alibi," Hannakon whispered. "The starship and mercenary crew I want to offer you are not mine to give away, as the contracts are already signed. We must resort to some trickery. The three of you do not need to say anything. I have it all arranged. You are just here to make the lie convincing." Trig, Hannakon, and Rulan sat down at the negotiating table next to Hannakon. The chief executive officer of the Beyu Trade Organization, a bored-looking Olenbar named Thando Dexius, adjusted his digital glasses and looked around the room. "The next item on the agenda," said CEO Dexius, "is a request from Harbor Master Hannakon of Precis Station. He wishes to accelerate the launch date of the civilian vessel Eventide Volunteer from Precis Station." "Yes, sir," another board member spoke. "The Eventide Volunteer is an ice hauler currently in the final stages of construction. Only ship of her class, ordered by the colonial government of De Gorka in the Sutherian the Sutherian Republic. Crew of 85 civilians and 30 mercenaries." "Mercenaries?" repeated CEO Dexius. "Yes, sir. Provided by Vigilo Security, one of our subsidiaries. De Gorka is currently undergoing a major shortage of water due to ongoing civil conflict, sir. The situation is so serious that 3 agents representing the buyer have come here to personally collect their purchase." The board member gestured at Trig, Hannakon, and Rulan. The CEO narrowed his eyes. "The buyer seeks to pull at my heartstrings by sending a child with them," he said. Trig was quick-witted in the moment. He warped his own psionic energy onto himself and forced himself to feel overwhelmingly sad and desperate. Tears welling up in his eyes, Trig looked at the CEO with trembling lips and mouthed the words, "Please, sir, please." When the CEO hesitated, nearly half of the board members took it in turns to implore him to relent. Trig quickly realized that more than half of Beyu's leadership was in Hannakon's pocket. They were going to force the CEO's hand by any means necessary. Finally, Dexius relented. "Very well. As soon as you verify their identities, start the paperwork to approve an acceleration of contract terms and conditions. Next item on the agenda, please." Trig, Rulan, and Hannakon were asked to stand and then shown the door. Trig had just started to panic, worried about just how their identities would be checked, when an armed Olenbar man approached them with a biometric scanner in hand. Just need a quick sample of your blood, gentlemen, he said. As Trig and Rouland had their fingers pricked, the Olenbar man looked at Hannakon and winked. Then he allowed the trio to leave. Tenna was worried about becoming fat. The crew of the Kaldorix was serving her 3 delicious meals a day through a hatch in the doorway. In the back of her mind, she knew why. They're trying to stop me from thinking about escape, Tenna told herself. Tenna had figured out her location quickly. She watched many TV shows about the Great Khan and his ship in her younger years, and knew the internal layout of his flagship very well. She was in one of the 6 harem chambers, located 3 decks below the conduit chamber, and just 1 deck away from the nearest escape pod. They're overfeeding me, Tenna told herself, pacing around the massive bed in the center of the room. I'm always too full of food to do any kind of hard work. She looked at herself in the mirror and pulled at the folds of her long white dress. The hem reached all the way to the floor. Yeah, they're making me wear this so I can't get into a spacesuit quickly, Tenna realized. I'd have to pull the whole dress off before suiting up. No good at all. Tenna checked the wardrobe. Her captors had been very careful to provide Tenna with only large, bulky outfits that would certainly impede Tenna's ability to don either a flight suit or a spacesuit. I mean, it sucks, but these dresses are all so beautiful, Tenna said. She pulled each dress out of the wardrobe and laid them out on the bed, which was wide enough for 6 men. Or, rather, the Great Khan and 5 or 6 women. Tenna splayed out the many dresses and gowns, marveling at their beauty. Feeling a little like her older self, Tenna tried to guess which of these magnificent outfits was previously worn by one of Malum Ralpakin's concubines. When Tenna admired a sundress previously owned by Trig's mother, a voice that was not her own whispered in the back of her head. You would look stunning in that dress, seated across from Alex Camber in the Great Khan's illustrious dining hall. Absent-mindedly, Tenna shrugged off the telepathic manipulation and tossed Kara's outfit aside. Outside of the harem chambers, a Nagyari telepath let out a deep sigh and walked down the corridor, away from Tenna's room. Alex Camber was waiting for him around a corner. Permit me to try again, Master, the telepath said. She is resistant, but her willpower is weak. She can be bent. I will give you one more chance, Alex replied. Just one. We are running out of time. Our enemies have arrived at Précy's station, and their intentions have been obscured. The girl must be broken before the boy returns.